Ladies and gentlemen, the graduation address gives us the opportunity to hear from a distinguished member of our alumni community. And we are fortunate that today the address will be delivered by the Honourable Ms. Huey Yap. Ms. Yap was elected into the Penang State Legislative Assembly as member for Pulau Tikus in May 2013. As a state parliamentarian, she chaired the State Executive Subcommittee on Universal Accessibility and the Subcommittee on Children with Special Needs. She is a member of the Malaysian Democratic Action Party. Ms. Yap maintains an active role in the Board of Directors of several organisations, including the Penang Science Cluster, the Penang Technology Centre, the Penang Development Corporation Consultancy, and the Penang Youth Development Corporation. Ms. Yap holds an honours degree in the Bachelor of Science from Monash University and was a researcher in the Burnett Institute for Public Health and Medical Research in Melbourne before returning to Malaysia in 2011. I now have much pleasure in inviting the Honourable Ms. Huey Yap to deliver the graduation address.
Dr. Ellen Finkel, professors, faculty, graduates and guests. My name is Huey. If I may, I am both human and superhuman, and I hope you are too. I grew up in a middle-class family in Malaysia. There are 3 children in my family. I'm the eldest, followed by my younger sister and then my younger brother. When my mom was pregnant with the youngest, she worked 2 jobs. A regular one during the day, and a second job at night, because she anticipated that the family needed more money with the 3rd child coming in. My family wasn't poor. We had a house, the kids wore nice clothes, and we went on holidays. But we weren't rich either. After finishing my honours degree at Monash University in Gippsland, I found myself at the Burnett Institute, investigating the effects of asparagine to isoleucine mutation at codon 348 in HIV reverse transcriptase enzyme, under the supervision of Associate Professor Gilda Tashajian. Being in an environment like the Burnett Institute is a bit of a privilege that wasn't really obvious until later in life. You see, it is a privileged environment because at the time I was there, Burnett was only 3 stories, and on my floor alone, there were more than 50 scientists, and every single one of us, was at least a first-class honours graduate or above, and with maybe about 15 MDs and PhDs on that floor. The big names in Burnett were people like Brendan Crabb, Sharon Lewin, Suzanne Crowe, David Anderson, and Rosemary French. In whatever field of work you are in, there will always be big names. One of the big names in HIV research was Dr. John Mellors. There was once when I was selected to speak at the retroviruses meeting at Cold Spring Harbor. It was a big deal. My honours supervisor said that some people spend their whole career trying to get to speak at Cold Spring Harbor. So preparation was tense. There were a lot of nerves. I was nervous, and my supervisor was even more nervous. I was about to feature the work of her lab at Cold Spring Harbor, and we wanted it to be good. All our peers would be watching, including all the big names, the godlike figures of HIV research. After the Cold Spring Harbor meeting, I was to spend some time in the University of Pittsburgh, learning some new techniques to bring back to Melbourne. Heading the division of the infectious diseases at UPitt was Dr. John Mellors, the godlike figure in HIV research and treatment. I'm spending quite a bit of time telling you this story because my first Cold Spring Harbor presentation, followed by time on the same floor as Dr. Mellors, was a life-changing light bulb moment for me. We worked so hard to make sure my presentation at Cold Spring Harbor was perfect, and I looked at the big names of HIV with reverence. But then, after one or two times going past Dr. Mellows in the elevator or in the corridors, you begin to realize that he's human, just an ordinary human being like you and me. And then I realized all the godlike figures were human, like you and me. There's a difference in how your nerves, muscles, and chemistry in your body reacts when you begin to realize a person is human, just an ordinary human being like you and me. That we are all human is a difficult lesson, but once learned, can be applied to so many different situations. For now, I'd like to fast forward to 2013. From conducting medical research in Melbourne, I went off to coordinate the Penang Science Council and was suddenly thrown into the limelight because a political party in Malaysia wanted a candidate for the seat of Pilaticus in Penang, and they felt I was an ideal candidate. I contested in the 13th Malaysian general elections and won. When you are a public figure in a hierarchical society like Malaysia, you become a godlike figure. 90% of the time, my car gets parked at a VIP parking right at the entrance, and I get escorted right straight to the main VIP table. When something like this happens, the world around you changes. But the effect of it may not be as obvious as it should be, because for the most part inside, you actually still feel the same. For yourselves, after you walk out of this hall, you will still feel the same inside. And that is the scary thing. Our environment and the people around us influence and gradually change the way we think, the way we act. But most of us will not be mindful of these influences. And year after year, something inside us change. Manipulated and shaped by the people we interact with, the culture, the system. So, being a politician requires constant reminder to stay human. When you walk out of these university walls, you will be working in hospitals, clinics, as scientists, as consultants. They are professions that people respect, go to for advice, and depend on for expert opinion. It would be useful to remember to be human. I emphasize this because sometimes it occurs to me that I was crippled by Monash University and the Burnett Institute. With all due respect to both esteemed institutions that have my utmost respect and gratitude, but I have to explain because all of you graduating today are at risk of being crippled too. You are in this hall because you have been through several hurdles, several filtration processes. You did well enough in your school exams to get into Monash. Well done. You passed your university exams each year and probably more. Well done again. Whatever you have been through, you are here today with your degree in hand. Congratulations. To your left, right, and all around you are graduates of the Monash Faculty of Science and the Monash Faculty of Medicine, Nursing, and Health Sciences, no less. Moving forward, you will be surrounded by people who have gone through similar hurdles and filtration processes. It is important to realize that you are privileged and carry that weight of responsibility. As a politician, I have to talk to many people. I have to be able to relate to them. I hope to be able to explain things so that they understand. Doing my job requires me to interact effectively with different types of people. How do I explain my stance, myself, and my policies to anyone on the street? How can I get heads of department to work with me and appreciate the gist of the strategy that I so dearly want to implement? Do my staff get why I come to work every day? And do I get them and understand what it is to them? I was crippled by my education and working in the Burnett Institute because my surroundings were people who have crossed certain hurdles and succeeded, who have been changed by the environment without them fully noticing, as happens to everyone. When you are used to talking science graduate to science graduate, medical graduate to medical graduate, you risk being crippled. Crippled from the full range of your ability to talk to different types of people and understanding how they understand what they see, what they understand, and what is important to them. And yet people in other social circles are people you do interact with. They walk into your clinics, they are affected by the science that you do. We meet different people in meetings and cafes. But your insights risk being programmed to think that you're superhuman. After all, you know all that technical information that other people don't understand. And when you tell people what you do, reverence. You save lives, they say. You change the world, they say. Or they start asking you a whole heap of questions because your advice matters. You are valued for your expertise. In your shoes as an expert now, a person with authority or credibility to do certain things or say certain things, you have a predisposition. A predisposition to think, whether you're conscious or not of it, that you are superhuman. But you must still remain human. That is what I hope to leave with you today. Awareness of being human, astute awareness of humanity is critically important these days as the borders of technology and humanity becomes blurred. In Cold Spring Harbor and through Dr. Mellows, I learned that everyone else is just human and I should treat them as such. In politics, I learned that I too must stay human. And even at times when you're so damn sure of yourself, the situation may look completely different if you were someone else. Staying human can be difficult. Now comes the complication. I would also like to remind you your duties as a superhuman. You cannot run away from the fact that you are more intelligent than the average population. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. I have been asked how it's like to be a scientist politician. In my country, most politicians come from a legal background. Well, I relish my role as a politician with a science background because I sit in meetings where experts present data to a room of politicians and they dumb it down for us. No, actually, it would be fine if they dumb it down for us because a good communicator should be able to explain complex information to non-experts and help them understand. But the problem is that these experts tend to dumb it down so much that they tell you only parts of the story that favors their point of view, skimming through the surface and then arriving at their conclusions with so much conviction. And politicians are supposed to swallow it hook, line, and sinker. As a scientist politician, even though specializing in retroviruses, I'm used to seeing many numbers and analysis and having to understand complex information. You just have to apply yourself to it. That's what university has taught me. So when I'm presented with hill slope analysis, disease prevalences, water pollution reports, I was comfortable. I did not feel like I had to reach out for a crutch, relying fully on the conclusion of an appointed expert. This time I wasn't crippled. I'm fully able to apply my mind to information presented, ask questions, identify further information I need, and then make my own conclusions. There's another area that I have nurtured an interest in, which is transport management, mobility, and accessibility. Initially, I did not feel confident with the information. I wasn't confident with what I was presented, and also of my own conclusions. But initially, not knowing something is fine, because your university education equips you to learn. It is when you're so darn sure and full of yourself that you have to be concerned. But if you're willing to learn, as superhumans, you can. To some extent, you can learn anything. Science is actually everywhere and in everything, from how trains run, to how the country should prepare itself for extreme weather, to food production and how trees on your streets are able to access water underground. I bring that up because Melbourne has a pretty advanced system for your trees, in case you didn't know. Anyway, please realize that your superheroes extend well beyond your exact areas of expertise. As respected members of society, in a line of work where people actually listen to you, and especially if you're from or end up working in a conservative country like Malaysia, where healthcare professionals and scientists are seen to be of higher hierarchy or authority, please appreciate your privileged positions, that you are superheroes with responsibility. I'm concerned about climate change and Malaysia's environmental impact. But there is an underlying sentiment among some that environment protection is a Western leftist propaganda to suppress development in emerging countries. Many people are indifferent, and that made me wonder, who would the people listen to? And I realized that if healthcare professionals told them to get out and walk instead of losing hours every day trapped in their single occupancy cars, then I think more people would start walking. If healthcare professionals came out to say that changes in weather patterns are affecting agriculture, source of nutrition, disease patterns, and incidences of hospitalization, then I think a significant proportion of society who were indifferent would listen. Because in my country, it is still imbued in you to respect people in healthcare and science fields. I sense it may not be so straightforward in Australia, but nonetheless, you are undeniably in a comparatively well-respected and trusted profession. So you have powers to understand beyond the average person. You have powers to influence if you learn how to communicate effectively. I hope that you stay mindful of your humanity, but also exercise your superpowers. Your superpowers are your knowledge of how to learn, the practice of how to communicate, and the privileged position of your profession. And finally, why do superhero films sell in the cinema? Because deep down inside, everyone wants for things to be better. Everyone hopes for there to be superheroes that can come save the day. And maybe, deep down inside, everyone wants to be a superhero in their own way. For each of you, you have your own superhero path. Do not be limited by convention, but remember, being a superhero requires you to be both human as well as a superhero. Use your powers wisely. And lastly, enjoy the journey, find love in what you do, and have fun. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank you again, the Honourable Huey Yup, and really I enjoyed so much your expression of the yin and the yang of humility and pride, and it illustrates one of the issues in Australia. We don't have enough scientist politicians, and so hopefully you might inspire some of these graduates to become the future superhero politicians of Australia.